Welcome to Scary Stories January 2024. I hope I remembered to put a new copyright date on the intro. It's time for a new intro, isn't it? Or no? What do you think? In either case, this time we've got a collection of 3 strange stories sent in by people from this audience, each of who claim they are associated in real life with someone who is a werewolf. And now if that's not too much for you to handle, then I'll add this in. All 3 are being pressured to become werewolves themselves, each for different reasons. I'm going to choose one of these out of a hat randomly to start with, since all 3 stories have the same title, which is, Should I Become a Werewolf? Dear Scary Stories NYC, I'm a young man who just flunked out of college. My dad wants me to work for him at the gas station earning minimum wage. My mom wants me to go to trade school to train to be a plumber. But the idea that has me most interested is my uncle's idea. You see, my uncle wants me to follow in his footsteps and become a werewolf. Now, I know he's a werewolf, but I'm the only one in the family who does know. He showed me. He changed partially on the last full moon, but he used to be able to change any day of the month, in a few seconds, at will. And if I become a werewolf, he says at my age, I'd be able to stay the wolf 24/7 if I felt like it. See, my uncle used to be a gang member. He was a criminal, and he did a few stints in prison for it. 1 year the first time, 2 years the second. He didn't get out the third time for 9 years. But by then he was too old to be the werewolf enough to make a living from it doing crime. Also, he told me that when he changes now, doesn't even really make him stronger or anything, so there isn't much reason to do it. He said that's the same reason he gave up drinking beer, too. But me, I'm 23 and I'm strong. I want the werewolf curse. I want to be able to live off the land. My uncle told me that once you're the werewolf, food is all around you everywhere you look. The entire world is yours for the taking, and it's all absolutely for free. Once you're the werewolf, all you survey is yours. Everything you see is yours to take and to rip apart and to devour and to savor. Who wouldn't want a life like that? So the thing is, if I make this choice, it's kind of a permanent decision. I would have to join my uncle's old gang to get to be a werewolf. It's a gang that goes back to the 50s. I think he joined it in the 60s. When he tells me stories about it, I feel like I'm hearing about missing scenes from I Was a Teenage Werewolf. Like one gang he wanted to get into required that you shoot drugs with a needle in front of the others. Getting in his other gang required you to steal money from your own family. And a third one, the one he eventually joined, required that you become a werewolf and swear a blood oath with the wolf pack. You remain loyal to the pack for life, and you don't ever turn your back on a pack member. If you do betray any of your brothers, that's the end of you. So I've got to make certain this is the thing I want to do before I do it. Once the decision is made, there's no turning back. And there's no feeling a sense of regret about my decision. I've got to be certain this is the way I want to go. So I've been asking my uncle to tell me more stories about his old days in the gang. I kind of want to imagine myself in his place and decide if that's the place I want to be, you know? Maybe the place for me is under the sink fixing leaky pipes. I could support a family that way. It could be a great life. Then again, maybe I go crazy with no adventure and no risk. My uncle told me that if I choose this path, I will have more strength than I ever had before. That I will have more speed, too. I'll be able to see in almost pitch darkness. I'll be able to hear things far away. And I'll be able to smell something and know right away what it is that I'm smelling. I mean, for me, that's already enough to sell me on the entire situation. But the thing is, I have these nagging questions in my mind. Like, if werewolves are so strong and so fast, why did my uncle serve 3 prison sentences? How are the cops able to even catch him and bring him in? Well, according to my uncle, all 3 times he got caught, it was while he was sleeping. He was always caught when he was human, not when he was the wolf. I asked him why he didn't just transform into the wolf and escape once the police were arresting him. He told me he would never change in front of law enforcement. He'd face the death penalty before he'd allow the law to see that he was a werewolf. Now that blew my mind. He was basically telling me that he went to jail 3 times, when each time he could have changed into the wolf and escaped. And I would have to do the same thing if I were to follow this path in my life, because this was part of the pact with the Wolf Clan. You give yourself up, rather than give up the wolves. Like I said, even if you're facing the death penalty, you accept your fate, and you keep your mouth shut about the other werewolves. I asked why. Why not save yourself? And my uncle said that as long as the werewolves remain a secret, they are invincible. Once they become a known quantity, however, once they become hunted by the authorities, then they can be destroyed. If the United States government decided that werewolves were a threat to them, we'd all be dead before sundown, he insisted. So I asked him how. How would they kill a werewolf? He told me he didn't know how to do that. The only ones he knew that had passed on died of old age. But he felt pretty certain that the government could figure out how to wipe them all out inside of an hour or two, if it became a priority to them. And that was why werewolves have to remain fictional. Officially, I mean. That's why they can't go public. It would be putting a target on their backs. It would be asking for trouble. So in other words, it wouldn't be all sunshine and roses if I chose this road. But of all the kinds of organized crime I could get involved with, this sounds like the best. I mean, what other field of criminal behavior can say that all the participants die of old age? None that I'm aware of. So for right now, becoming a werewolf is the idea that has my mind most occupied. But would I still be happy with the decision a year or 5 years from now? I'd be forced to be loyal to a gang full of people I haven't even met yet. What if I ate their guts? I'd still be locked into a lifelong commitment, wouldn't I? Yes, I would. So my uncle's gonna find a way to have me meet some of the guys that he thinks I might get along better with. And we'll see what happens, if anything at all, after that. I don't know what I would tell my parents if I chose this lifestyle. I can't tell them the truth. I've got a lot to think about, and a lot of decisions to make. I still can't make up my mind. Should I become a werewolf? Should I become a werewolf? Dear Scary Stories NYC, my husband wants me to become a werewolf like him, and I'm writing to you and your audience for advice. Should I become a werewolf? Let's call my husband Nick, which is not exactly his real name. Nicky is a good man, but he fell in with the wrong crowd. Everyone told me I couldn't change him, but I felt I had to try, because I was in love with him. I'm still in love with him, and we've been married 3 years now. I know that's not like being married 50 years, but it's a long time to still feel in love with a guy. And I definitely am in love with my Nicky. When he's human, at least. I don't know how much I should risk telling you about the people who changed my man into that wolfman, but they are organized, and they do what they want. He was friends with them before I met him. I was really dumb to think that I could separate him from them. He belongs to them, and they're not going to let him go. If they thought I was ratting them out, they would finish me off first, then explain it to Nicky second. So let's just talk about me and my husband and leave everyone else out of this. Nicky was not a werewolf when I first met him, and he didn't even warn me in advance about it before it did happen. He got elevated to a certain level in that society he belongs to, and when he achieved that level, I guess it was like he unlocked this new perk or something. And the perk was that he would be a werewolf from then on? Like, how is that a perk? How is that desirable? Isn't it always called a curse in all the movies? I mean, they make horror movies about werewolves, not superhero movies, right? That's because nobody wants to be a werewolf. Everybody wants to be Iron Man, but nobody wants to be my husband. Except for Nicky. He loves getting to turn into a nasty, savage monster and do... Well, let's not get too far into what he does. He follows orders when he turns, and they're not my orders. He does what he's told to by his masters, who he thinks are his benefactors and friends. I wish he had spoken to me about this before it was too late. I would have warned him that this is a bad thing, but Nicky thought I would want to celebrate with him when I found out the news. For some reason, he never thought I wouldn't approve wholeheartedly. Also, the way he surprised me with the news was not very cool, although in his defense he has apologized for this since. He waited until we were getting ready for bed, and he knows I go to the bathroom to clean up before bed every night, so when I came out of the bathroom, There was a werewolf in my husband's clothing growling at me. I threw a lamp at him. It was not a cheap lamp either, and it broke, of course. So then Nicky started partially transforming back and cursing me out for throwing the lamp. I cursed him out twice as loud for making me think I had a monster in my bedroom. Then Nicky was like, "You do have a monster in your bedroom," and then we stopped fighting for a while to do something else. I warned you that I love him before I got started, so it is what it is. Anyway, the more I told Nicky I didn't like the whole werewolf thing, the more he started bringing the other wolfmen over to our place. They would order me around and treat me like a maid or a waitress, but I kept my mouth shut, since I know what these guys are capable of. Each time they would leave, Nicky would congratulate me and flatter me, saying that the guys were starting to like me, and each time I would remind him that I still didn't like any of them. I'm scared to death of them. Still, each time I did what Nicky wanted, he'd buy me a nicer and nicer present. I was being trained like a dog, and I was jumping through hoops to earn my doggy treats. I began to try harder to be nice to Nicky's bosses and coworkers, and for a short while, I stupidly felt that possibly an equilibrium had been reached, you know? Maybe I'm not saying that right, but I mean I felt like everyone wanted to get along, and so we were getting along. The momentary absence of drama lulled me to sleep, so I started to think it was time for me and Nicky to try to have a baby. I was going to talk to him about it that night, when he came home all excited, saying he had great news for me. The news was that the other guys had decided to let me become a werewolf too. I was stunned. So I had been working hard to get along for a reason other than why I thought I had been doing it. I had been working so hard to be nice to killers, to animals, so that Nicky could convince them to turn me into one of them. I went into the bathroom to be sick, and my mind kind of snapped for a little while. I mean, in a few months I had gone from werewolves being something from kids' horror movies to werewolves being my husband, and now I was supposed to become one as well? Obviously, I can't really even believe that this is happening. Otherwise, I wouldn't be writing to you and your audience. I mean, I don't want to become a monster. But if I don't, then I at least lose my husband. Maybe I lose my life. I mean, I would at least have to run for it, wouldn't I? Get fake ID, change my name, and move far away. I would lose everything. It would be too dangerous to even call my family. Or I could stay with my husband, but as his dog. Then there would be 2 dogs owned by that gang, wouldn't there? Nicky says it'll be easier for me to love the guys once I'm a wolf like he is. He says I'll feel a deep loyalty toward them then, and I won't have to worry about them ever being mad at me ever again either. I'll be too busy doing everything they say to worry about that. And so I ask you again, should I become a werewolf? Should I become a werewolf? Dear Scary Stories NYC, my nagging wife became a werewolf, and now that's all she and her stupid friends want to talk about. Personally, I find the entire subject sickening, so when she started insisting that I become a werewolf too, I have to admit I lost my temper. We've been bickering and arguing about it ever since. We live in the Midwest on the edge of a medium-sized city. The trouble is that means we also live on the edge of the country, and my wife suddenly finds the woods more interesting than she used to find shopping downtown. It's too rapid a change of interests and priorities in my opinion. It can't be healthy for that woman. I admit I need to talk this out with someone, but someone sane, not my werewolf wife. I don't want to bring it up with anyone I know though, since it seems too much to ask of even the closest friendship. I would not only be asking them to accept the reality of werewolfism, I'd be asking them to help me find some moral guidance when deciding what to do about it. Who would want to get involved between a man and his wife, even if his wife were not a ravenous, feral, carnivorous cryptid 3 days out of every month? You know, that last part there is how she got into all of this. She and her pagan friends decided werewolves should be reimagined as a divine feminine thing or something. Since werewolves and young women both are very cyclical beings, with their lives kind of revolving around the moon, her pagan friends started calling themselves werewolf women and stuff like that. At first it was just an interest of theirs. Anything to do with werewolves and werewolfism was interesting to them. In time, though, they started to gather information on how to affect the change in reality, or as they say it, in this reality. Because that seems to be part of their secret that they want to share with me. They seem to somehow pull something from another reality into this one. Like if they want to become a werewolf, they do a ceremony to open portals. Then they walk into the reality where they are a werewolf. And they come back with the essence of that reality now stamped into their DNA or something or other. She jabbers on explaining it, but it all sounds like polyrazzmatazz to me. Still, I have seen her transform, so I know she isn't lying or delusional. If she can do it to herself, she can do it to me too. But is that something I would really want? I mean, why would I want that? I'm not even into camping out, let alone hunting with my bare hands in the woods all night 3 nights a month. Talk about de-evolution. Now, she says she had many of the same reservations about it before she became a werewolf herself. But once she was a werewolf, she loved it more than anything she'd ever done before. Now that doesn't make me want to do it. That makes me feel like I'll be brainwashed if I do. It makes me feel like this is some sort of mind control plot by the women to control the men. She says I'm being paranoid, but I told her I have not even yet begun to get as paranoid as this all makes me feel. So that's why I'm writing to you. Am I off base? Should I be less horrified by all this? Or should I take extreme action of some kind? Should I run away? Should I get a divorce? Should I contact werewolf hunters to protect me? All I know is that I don't feel safe living among werewolves and I don't want to become one of them. So what options does that leave me, I ask you?
If you want a coloring book full of monster rusty light, then give this a look. It'll give you a fright, right? Scary Stories Coloring Book, Werewolf Coloring Book. And just to make your mind explode, it's a digital download. All it costs is $2.09, and then you will be feeling fine. Coloring monsters today, hey, it's a coloring book, hooray. Okay, link is in the description.
He's a guy who's always on our EP, John Carnagon. Please join me in thanking today's EP, John Carnagon, for donating to us using our thanks button located under each of our YouTube videos. If I'm recalling correctly, John is also one of our channel members or PayPal Club members, which means he's getting to see the 4 brand new weapon-wielding werewolf stories that we've been uploading this week for members only. I'm not even going to say the names of the weapons we've got stories about dogman or werewolves using on this channel, but we've got all the gory deets on our secret channel that only members know about. Here with more info on that is our international TV spokesmongrel, Henry Lee Dogman. Hank. Thanks, Biggie. And thanks to all of you for watching this far. If you liked it, please click like. If you'd like to see more of our work, please subscribe. And also click that bell icon if you'd like to be notified when we put out a new episode. To become an executive producer, you can donate to us through the thanks button under each of our videos or through our paypal.me/PeterBernard209 page. To receive cool perks like secret uncensored Dogman episodes far too wild to ever run on this channel, you can become a YouTube channel member by clicking the join button. Or join our PayPal subscribers club at peterbernard.com. Joining either at the $3 a month level or above gets you access to our over 25 hours of secret uncensored Dogman stories available nowhere else. Do you have a scary story about Dogman or some other kind of high strangeness that happened to you? Let us know by emailing us at scarystoriesnyc@gmail.com or by leaving us a voicemail message at 804-LA-SCARY. You may need to call back on that when it cuts off after I think 3 minutes. And if you don't want to do any of that stuff, thank you for simply watching to the end. Good night, and have a scary tomorrow.
Come back for more scary stories.